Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly, maybe after a family gathering or a phone call with your adult children, and felt that pang of disappointment, that feeling that something's not quite right, that the respect you once had from your children seems to be slipping away? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. Many of us, as we get older, notice shifts in our relationships with our kids. They're busy with their own lives, their careers, their families, and sometimes it feels like they don't have the time or the patience to truly listen to us anymore. It's not that they don't love us, they do. But respect? That can feel like it's fading. And let's be honest, that hurts. It hurts because respect is more than just a word, it's a feeling of being valued, heard, and appreciated. It's about knowing that your wisdom, your experiences, and your presence still matter. So, what do you do when you feel like your children don't respect you the way they used to? Do you confront them? Do you stay silent and let it eat away at you? Or is there another way, a better way to rebuild that connection and regain the respect you deserve? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. In this video, I'll share 6 powerful ways to regain respect from your children, not by demanding it, but by creating an environment where respect can grow naturally. These aren't quick fixes or magic solutions, but they are practical, heartfelt strategies that can help you strengthen your relationship with your kids and feel more valued in the process. Let's start with the first step. Reflect on your own behavior. Now, I know this might sound a little uncomfortable. After all, when we feel disrespected, our first instinct is often to point the finger at the other person. But the truth is, relationships are a two-way street. Sometimes, without even realizing it, we might be doing things that push our children away or make it harder for them to respect us. For example, do you find yourself giving unsolicited advice a lot? I know, it's hard not to when you've been through so much and just want to help. But sometimes our kids interpret that as us not trusting them to make their own decisions. Or maybe you've fallen into the habit of criticizing their choices, whether it's about their career, their parenting style, or even something as simple as how they keep their house. Again, it comes from a place of love, but it can come across as judgmental. The key here is to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I treating my children as adults, or am I still seeing them as the little kids I used to guide? Respect is a two-way street, and if we want them to respect us, we need to show them that we respect them too. That means listening more, lecturing less, and giving them the space to live their lives, even if they make mistakes along the way. Now, let's move on to the second step. Set clear boundaries. This one is so important, especially as our roles in our children's lives change over time. When they were young, we were the ones setting the rules, but now that they're adults, the dynamic has shifted, and sometimes that shift can lead to misunderstandings or even resentment if we're not careful. For instance, maybe you've noticed that your children tend to drop by unannounced or expect you to babysit the grandkids at a moment's notice. Or perhaps they make decisions about your life, like where you should live or how you should spend your money, without consulting you first. These situations can leave you feeling disrespected, and rightly so. But here's the thing, boundaries aren't about building walls or pushing people away. They're about creating mutual respect. It's okay to say, I love having you visit, but I'd appreciate it if you called first, or I'm happy to help with the kids, but I need some notice so I can plan my day. Setting boundaries like these shows your children that you value your time and your independence, and it encourages them to do the same. The trick is to communicate these boundaries calmly and clearly, without guilt or blame. You might say something like, I know you're busy, and I don't want to add to your stress, but it's important to me that we respect each other's time. When you approach it this way, you're not accusing them of being disrespectful, you're simply asking for the consideration you deserve. And finally, let's talk about the third step. Lead by example. This one might seem obvious, but it's worth repeating. Respect is something that's earned, not demanded. And one of the best ways to earn it is by modeling the behavior you want to see. Think about it, if you want your children to be kind, patient, and understanding, you need to show them what that looks like. For example, let's say your child says something that upsets you, maybe they snap at you or dismiss your opinion. It's natural to feel hurt or even angry in that moment, but how you respond can make all the difference. If you lash out or shut down, it's likely to create more tension. But if you take a deep breath and respond with calmness and kindness, you're showing them that respect is about treating others the way you want to be treated. Leading by example also means being honest about your own mistakes. None of us are perfect, and there may have been times when you've said or done things that hurt your children, even if you didn't mean to. Acknowledging those moments and apologizing sincerely can go a long way in rebuilding trust and respect. So to recap, we've covered 3 powerful ways to start regaining respect from your children: reflecting on your own behavior, setting clear boundaries, and leading by example. These steps aren't about changing who you are, they're about creating a healthier, more respectful dynamic in your relationship. Now that we've laid this foundation, let's move on to the next steps, which will help you deepen that connection and create lasting change. Because here's the truth: respect isn't just something you demand, it's something you nurture, one conversation, one action, and one moment at a time, and you deserve to feel valued and appreciated in every single one of those moments. Now that we've talked about reflecting on your own behavior, setting clear boundaries, and leading by example, let's dive into the next steps that can help you rebuild respect with your children. These strategies are all about fostering understanding, strengthening communication, and creating a relationship where respect flows naturally. Let's start with the 4th step: practice active listening. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt like the other person wasn't really hearing you? Maybe they were nodding along, but you could tell their mind was somewhere else. It doesn't feel great, does it? Well, the same goes for our children. If we want them to respect us, we need to show them that we respect them enough to truly listen. Active listening is about more than just hearing the words someone says, it's about understanding the emotions and intentions behind those words. It means putting aside your own thoughts for a moment and giving your full attention to the person speaking. For example, if your child is venting about a tough day at work, instead of jumping in with advice or a story about how things were harder in your day, try saying something like, "That sounds really frustrating. Tell me more about what happened." This kind of response shows that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk, you're genuinely interested in what they have to say, and when your children feel heard, they're more likely to reciprocate that respect and listen to you in return. It's a simple but powerful way to build a stronger connection. Now let's move on to the 5th step. Acknowledge their independence. This one can be tough, especially if you're used to being the one your children relied on for everything. But as they grow older, it's important to recognize and celebrate their independence. After all, isn't that what we've always wanted for them: to grow into capable, confident adults? Acknowledging their independence means letting go of the need to control or micromanage their lives. It means trusting them to make their own decisions, even if those decisions aren't what you would choose. For example, if your adult child decides to move to a new city for a job opportunity, instead of expressing doubt or worry, you might say, "I'm so proud of you for taking this step. I know it's a big change, but I believe in you." This doesn't mean you can't share your concerns or offer advice when asked. It just means doing so in a way that respects their autonomy. When your children feel that you trust and support them, they're more likely to respect your perspective and value your input. And finally, let's talk about the 6th step: focus on the positive. It's easy to get caught up in the things that aren't going well in a relationship, the times when your children seem dismissive or uninterested. But if you want to rebuild respect, it's important to shift your focus to the positive aspects of your relationship. Think about the things your children do that make you proud or bring you joy. Maybe they call you regularly to check in, or they include you in family gatherings, or they've worked hard to achieve something meaningful. Whatever it is, take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate those things. And don't just keep those thoughts to yourself, share them with your children. For example, you might say, "I just want you to know how much it means to me when you call every week. It makes me feel so loved and connected to you." Or, "I'm so proud of the way you've handled that challenge at work. You've always been so determined, and it's inspiring to see." When you focus on the positive, you're not only reinforcing the behaviors you want to see, you're also creating a more uplifting and supportive dynamic in your relationship. And when your children feel appreciated, they're more likely to show you the same level of respect and care in return. So to recap, we've covered 3 more powerful ways to regain respect from your children. Practicing active listening, acknowledging their independence, and focusing on the positive. These steps are all about creating a relationship built on mutual understanding, trust, and appreciation. Now that we've explored these strategies, let's move on to the final steps, which will help you bring everything together and create lasting change in your relationship with your children. Because at the end of the day, respect isn't just about how others treat us, it's about how we nurture and honor the connections that matter most. We've covered a lot of ground so far, haven't we? From reflecting on your own behavior to setting boundaries, leading by example, practicing active listening, acknowledging your children's independence, and focusing on the positive, these steps are all about creating a foundation of mutual respect and understanding. Now let's bring it all together with the final steps that will help you solidify these changes and create a lasting, meaningful connection with your children. Let's start with the seventh step. Be patient and persistent. Rebuilding respect in a relationship doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, effort, and a whole lot of patience. There may be moments when it feels like nothing is changing, or even times when things seem to get worse before they get better. But don't let that discourage you. Change is a process, and every small step you take is moving you closer to your goal. For example, if you've started setting boundaries but your children are still testing those limits, don't give up. Gently but firmly reinforce your boundaries and remind yourself that consistency is key. Or if you've been practicing active listening but your child still seems distant, keep showing up and giving them your full attention. Over time, those small efforts will add up, and you'll start to see the fruits of your labor. Remember, patience isn't just about waiting, it's about staying committed to the process, even when it's hard. And persistence is about continuing to show up, even when you're not sure if it's making a difference. Trust that your efforts matter and know that every step you take is helping to rebuild the respect and connection you deserve. Now let's move on to the eighth step, seek common ground. One of the most powerful ways to rebuild respect is to find areas where you and your children can connect and bond. This might be a shared interest, a common goal, or even a mutual challenge you're both facing. When you focus on what brings you together, rather than what pulls you apart, you create opportunities for understanding and connection. For example, maybe you and your child both love gardening, or you're both trying to stay active and healthy as you get older. Use those shared interests as a way to spend time together and strengthen your bond. Or perhaps you're both navigating the challenges of aging. You might share your experiences and learn from each other's perspectives. Seeking common ground isn't about ignoring your differences, it's about finding ways to connect despite them. When you focus on what you have in common, you create a sense of unity and teamwork that can help bridge any gaps in your relationship. And finally, let's talk about the ninth step. Let go of resentment. This might be the hardest step of all, but it's also one of the most important, holding on to resentment. Whether it's about past conflicts, unmet expectations, or feelings of being disrespected, only weighs you down and keeps you stuck in the past. If you want to move forward and rebuild respect, you need to let go of those negative emotions and focus on the present. Now, I'm not saying you should pretend that everything is fine or ignore your feelings. It's important to acknowledge and process your emotions, but once you've done that, it's time to release them. Forgive your children for any mistakes they've made, and forgive yourself for any mistakes you've made as well. Remember, we're all human, and we're all doing the best we can with what we have. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean you're condoning bad behavior, it just means you're choosing to focus on the future rather than the past. When you approach your relationship with a clean slate, you create space for healing, growth, and renewed respect. So, to recap, we've covered 3 more powerful ways to regain respect from your children: being patient and persistent, seeking common ground, and letting go of resentment. These steps are all about creating a relationship that's built on understanding, connection, and mutual respect. Now, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Respect isn't just something you demand, it's something you nurture. It's about showing up, listening, setting boundaries, and leading by example. It's about focusing on the positive, seeking common ground, and letting go of the past. And most importantly, it's about believing in the value of your own worth and the strength of your relationships. If you've been feeling disrespected by your children, I hope these steps have given you some practical tools and a renewed sense of hope. Remember, change is possible, and you have the power to create a healthier, more respectful dynamic in your relationship. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried any of these strategies? What's worked for you and what challenges have you faced? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I read every single one and I'd love to continue this conversation with you. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Together we can navigate the challenges of aging and create relationships that are filled with love, respect, and understanding. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, you deserve to be respected, valued, and appreciated not just by your children but by everyone in your life. Here's to building stronger, healthier relationships and living your best life at any age. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.